It's always frustrated me that we didn't learn more about money management in school. We all would like to make more money, but for some reason it's rarely talked about. So in this video, I'll be going over my top 8 financial tips. Full disclosure, I'm not a financial advisor. These are based on recommendations from millionaires and billionaires who I admire. So my first and most important tip is to build an emergency fund. I recommend saving at least $1,000 for emergency purposes only. This doesn't mean you dip into that money because there's a sale on a pair of shoes you like. You should keep this money in a separate account where it won't get mixed in with your other funds. Ultimately, you'll want to save up roughly 6 or more months worth of your expenses. Having this money available takes away the stress of wondering what would happen if your income came to a complete stop, or if you run into a situation where you need a large amount of money. The second tip is to create a budget. You can be a multi-millionaire and live paycheck to paycheck because of poor money management. A perfect example is Mike Tyson. He made over $400 million within a 20-year period and blew every penny. So figure out your monthly revenue versus your monthly expenses. If your expenses are higher than your revenue, you'll either need to cut back on spending or figure out a way to make more money. When I first started budgeting, I would literally put the cash from my paychecks into separate envelopes. One envelope was labeled groceries, one was labeled car payment, one was labeled vacation. You get the idea. Now I have everything managed electronically through my bank account, and I can track it 24/7 from my phone. If you're not tracking your spending, you're asking for trouble. My third tip is to pay off all debt except your home. If you're making minimum payments on your credit cards, the majority of that payment is going towards interest and you're barely putting a dent in your principal. I've heard multiple approaches to this. Some recommend debt stacking, which is going after the highest interest rates first while making minimum payments on the other lines of credit. Others, like Dave Ramsey, recommend starting with the lowest balance first and working your way up. As soon as one balance is paid off completely, use that same payment towards the next balance. Either way, paying off your high interest debt is a quick way to free up your cash flow. The fourth tip is to use your credit cards wisely. If you're not disciplined enough to stick to your budget with credit cards, I wouldn't recommend using them at all. I strictly use credit cards for the majority of my family's purchases. The only way this works is if you pay off your entire balance each month to avoid paying roughly 20% interest. There's multiple perks to using credit cards, so just to name a few, you can earn cashback rewards or travel miles. They give you protection against credit card fraud, and you can get free credit score info. My fifth tip is to invest and diversify. I was always told to save money, but I always thought that just meant putting cash into a savings account, which is terrible advice. The American dollar loses roughly 2.25% of its value per year just because of inflation. You want to create passive income, which means you're getting paid while you sleep. That's done by investing. It's never too late or too early to start. You can hire a financial fiduciary to manage your money, or you can manage your own. Either way, make sure you're diversified. You don't want all of your money in one investment. There's also numerous tax advantaged accounts like 401ks, Roth IRAs, health savings accounts, and others that you'll want to research to find out what's the best fit for your situation. The best proven investment strategy is consistently investing into the S&P 500 and holding long term. The S&P 500 is an index of 500 large publicly traded companies from different sectors. As of 2022, it's averaged an annual return of around 10.5% since it was created in 1957. Strive to pay 10 to 20% of your income and make it a priority. Treat that money like it's a tax and deduct it from your paycheck before anything else. Picking individual stocks and trying to time the market is risky and rarely pays off. Tip number 6, work with a CPA. Your largest expense is likely your taxes. A certified public accountant will help you file your taxes and help minimize your tax liability. They can also advise or represent you if the IRS questions your tax return. They'll save you time, headache, and most importantly, money. For tip number 7, be patient and disciplined. Unfortunately, getting rich quick is extremely rare. Paul Samuelson said it best, investing should be more like watching paint dry or watching grass grow. If you want excitement, take $800 and go to Las Vegas. The natural instinct of an investor is to panic sell as soon as their portfolio starts to go red. Warren Buffett is known as the greatest investor of all time. He says, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. If you were to invest just $100 per week into the S&P 500, In 32 years, you will be a millionaire thanks to the power of compounding interest. Compounding interest is when you're earning interest on your interest. If you're unmotivated to invest, go online and play around with a compounding interest calculator. I guarantee you'll be excited to start. Tip number 8, learn from the greats. Don't take my word for it. There's countless interviews, articles, and books written about the best investors of all time. You'll see plenty of contradicting advice, but pay attention to the advice that best fits your lifestyle. Some famous money people recommend leveraging and borrowing as much as you can. I personally would rather be debt-free so I can sleep at night if there's a downturn. Some books that changed my outlook on money are Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. I also recommend watching interviews with Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Ray Dalio, and John Bogle, just to name a few. Bonus tip, be grateful and enjoy the journey. The average adult worldwide makes just over $23,000. It's easy to feel like you're falling behind when you go on social media or you turn on the TV, but most of the time these people are just putting on a show. Ignore that noise, this is a long-term game. If this video was helpful, please like and subscribe.